Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. So I mentioned corner, but we skipped one here. What I want to do today, primarily, is to go through the next step of the Bob McGinn thing, and that is linebacker. Now, this probably won't take the whole time, but I was thinking about, well, what if we just kind of skip through this one real fast and then we get to corner? The problem is, I don't think we should do that. I don't want to get too hyper fixated on the top needs and ignore kind of secondary needs, and I kind of think that's where linebacker falls. If we look at our situation right now, we have Quay, Cooper, McDuffie, and Hopper, which is solid enough, right? It's not a desperate need. We have our starters, right? It's probably Quay, Cooper, McDuffie with Hopper in the wings. Again, hoping he takes a step into McDuffie's spot. But it's already relatively thin. They're going to come into camp with more linebackers, whether that's all undrafted free agents or what. They're not coming in with just 4. We got to get this roster up to 90, and they're going to load up on linebackers and a bunch of other positions. But on top of that, I don't know that McDuffie is a long-term thing. He's one of those guys that keeps stringing along until they find something better. And even if that better is Tyron Hopper, then we have zero depth. On top of that, something to consider, although it's probably a nothing burger, Quay Walker is an undrafted free agent after this year. He's a free agent after this year, not undrafted free agent. That's not how that works. Unrestricted, I think, is the word I was going for, but free agent is sufficient. More than likely, they're going to end up keeping him. I know he's not everybody, Packer fans' favorite linebacker in the world, but, remember, he's not going to get a massive contract. He's going to get paid to stay at a rate that is, kind of where Quay is at, pending some kind of a massive breakout this year next to Cooper and in second year in the system and all that, which I'll leave open as a possibility. But either way, whether he breaks out or not, he's getting a contract. It's just a matter of whether it's a little bit bigger one because he had a good year or kind of a smaller one because he's just a guy. But either way, we're going to need more bodies, and I would say there's a decent chance that at some point in the draft, probably not early, the Packers end up taking a linebacker. And so pretending we just don't need them and we shouldn't even bother looking at linebacker is kind of stupid. And also, I don't want to dismiss the idea of finding a really good linebacker, right? Like, we have a bunch of bodies at defensive tackle. We still think it's a massive need, despite the fact that I like Devontae Wyatt, and I think he's going to be a good pass rusher. So what? We need several. I like Rashawn. We still need a bunch of edge rushers. I'm not opposed. Again, it's not going to be a first-round pick for me, but I'm not opposed to finding a second stud linebacker. If such a thing were to happen, I would not be sad. All right, so we'll do that, and then similar to yesterday, as a backup, we're going to get the PFF draft guide up to kind of provide some further context for these guys. And then also, forgot to do this yesterday, I will bring up my notes just in case there's any extra little tidbits that have come out, pro day type, stuff. So today is Let's Get to Know the Linebackers Day, and then we'll see how much time we have for other stuff. As far as news, not seeing a ton here. Matthew Golden will be at the draft in person. Cool. As will Jalen Milroe. It's an interesting development. ESPN's Kevin Seifert said the Vikings expressed confidence in wide receiver Jalen Nailor as a, I'm guessing I'm supposed to see worthy short-term replacement if Jordan Addison is suspended in 2025. The Vikings are still waiting to hear from the league on whether or not Addison will face a suspension for a misdemeanor DUI citation he received in 2024. Forgot that was even a thing. What is wrong with the Vikings? They have so many issues, man. But all right, let's get into this. So, Jihad Campbell. So, first of all, right out of the gate, pretty much every linebacker is potentially available to us. You might have, like the Falcons or somebody might jump on him ahead of us. But for the most part, pretty much everybody's in play. But via PFF 6'3", 235 out of Alabama, They gave him 9 out of 10 for coverage ability, pursuit speed, and tackling. They comped him to Benardrick McKinney. Remember that dude? That was, oh man, I can picture it. Not South Carolina. Where the heck did he play? Anyways, doesn't matter. I liked McKinney. Didn't turn out super well, but I liked him. His stable metrics. Forced incompletion percentage was 13th percentile. His slot grade, 15th percentile. Box grade, 86th percentile. Run defense grade, 60th percentile. Stop percentage, 54th percentile. A couple other things he ranked pretty well in. Missed tackle percentage, he was 4th among linebackers. This is more advanced data. This is something different. 6th in run stop percentage at 10.2%, ranked 8th in yards allowed and coverage at 170. Couple of my own personal notes, highly regarded by NFL scouting community. Falcons and Buccaneers are really high on him. We've talked about that before. Potentially a top 20 pick. Again, he's kind of slightly out of our range, but could very well fall to us. Not saying I want him because I don't. Apparently, Atlanta really had a lot of interest in Jack Campbell, so it's one of those things they've kind of been looking at this for a while. He is a New Jersey guy, so watch out for that. When asked what his best game was or what you should go back and watch, he recommended LSU, so if you want to go watch him, check that game out. He was asked to do sort of a this or that thing in one of the interviews, and it was, I think, a tackling series. The only reason I bring it up is because they mentioned a couple people. Jonathan Taylor or Joe Mixon, he went Jonathan Taylor as being better. And then they said Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor, and he said Josh Jacobs. Said Josh Jacobs is more elusive than Taylor. Now, he did go Alvin Kamara over Jacobs, but I thought that was pretty cool. So he's got respect for Jacobs. Did have a 4.52 second 40 and a 10.7 broad jump. Real strong testing numbers, which obviously helped the people that already liked him. And then the only other thing is he had surgery for a labral repair. So got to keep that in the back of your mind. Apparently, they're saying that he's not going to, probably, the timeline is not official, but he's unlikely to be ready for rookie minicamp or OTAs. Status for training camp may also be in doubt, though he could be close to full healthy by the start of the regular season. I actually asked the AI about that, and it said assuming his surgery was in March, I'm guessing I inputted that, I must have read that somewhere or something, and following a standard 6 to 9 month recovery, he could potentially return to full football activity in September or as late as December of 2025. So, got to keep that in mind. I'm guessing it'll be on the shorter side than the longer side, but that's worth noting. All right, let's get to the scout notes and whatnot. On the positive side, he's all over the field, explosive, nasty. They do everything with this guy. Former D-end. He's got bad intentions. He can blitz cover. Love this guy mid-first round. He can roll, plays with range, and tackles hard. He'll take on blocks and can slip them. Best at run and chase. He can run and cover. Closes quickly as a rusher. He's like Derek Johnson from Texas that played for Kansas City. He was so athletic that sometimes when he was wrong, he was still right. He put on a show at the combine. He's got it all. He's an inside backer with outside backer flexibility. He's even got some rush potential people might try to tap into. Negatives. He has a lot of physical traits, but I question the instinct part of it. Quick twitch physicality, really good size and strength, but the instincts were kind of average. Campbell's a really talented athlete, but questioned his brain. That's a rude way to say it. But I get it. A lot of times the answer is no. Sometimes you can improve a little bit. It's worth taking him at the right spot, but not in the first round. He's more like in the 40s. He's really only played the spot for a little more than a year. The other thing that I do with this, the last time we did it, it was very unusual because it was almost exactly in line. We're going to start getting weird fast here. So the number 2 guy on McGinn's list, to be clear, Jihad Campbell's at 17, and then after that it drops to like mid-late second round with Carson Schwessinger on the consensus board. Then we get into third round with Demetrius Knight, and then like fourth round with Chris Paul. Like it's one per round. There's just not a lot here. Now I don't know because, well, I mean we'll hear from maybe some of the scouts and what they have to say, and obviously they're going to be all over the board. I don't know what McGinn is thinking. in terms of does he think this is a first, second, third, fourth, fifth round? I don't know. But the number 2 guy on his list is not Carson Schweshinger. It's not Demetrius Knight. It is Smile Munden Jr. out of Georgia. Glad we just did the pronunciation guide, which again, some of those are probably wrong, but it is Smile. I actually went and found people saying his name on YouTube because I refuse to believe it, but it's a good name. And I will say, usually I look at stuff like this and I'm like, why don't you just spell it Smile? Because everyone's going to be calling your kid Smale. And nobody wants to be called Smale. But I think if it was spelled Smile, there's something in my brain that looking at that's stupid. You name your kid Smile, S-M-I-L-E, that's dumb. But it's spelled in a way that looks like a name, you know? So you're like, it's a name. And then you're like, is it Smale? Because Smale's a terrible name. You're like, no, it's Smile. And you're like, oh, I like it. It's a weird little circular thing that just fits in my head. That's like, I like the name. And if you spelled it right, I wouldn't like it. It would be weird and cheesy. It would be like one of those like Hollywood actor kids that call their kid like River Stream Zephora. So you're stupid. You know that? Just call him John. Okay? Call him John. Call him I'm sorry that sometimes in life you have to be normal. River Sephora. Be frickin' normal for a while, will you? Freaks. No, I must be better than you in all things. So Smile Munden, he is, by the way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 8 on the consensus big board. He's at consensus 135. So I don't know what round we're in there, but I don't feel like opening another tab. We'll just leave it be. Looks like he's number 5 on PFF, by the way. 6'2", 224 out of Georgia. He's got a 10 out of 10 in tackling, 9 out of 10 in competitive toughness. He is comp to Damone Clark. Stable metrics are not super great across the board. He's in the 40s for forced completion percentage, box grade, and stop percentage. 23rd percentile for slot grade, 17th for run defense grade. Some of the other 2024 advanced stats, he ranks 3rd. This is presumably among the guys on his list or among linebackers or whatever. I don't know. Ranks 3rd in yards allowed in coverage. Number 1 in forced incompletion percentage at 13.3%, which is weird that his percentile is so low, but okay. 3rd in missed tackle percentage at 5.2%. He led all linebackers in the broad jump, 10 foot 10 inches, 25 reps on the bench. Limited to 10 games as a senior due to an injury. He was a 5-star recruit out of Dallas. Played running back, quarterback, and wide receiver in addition to linebacker as a prep. Positive quotes. Not as good as Quay Walker, but a good football player. Georgia's done a great job producing linebackers, really good run and chase player, good interior blitzer. When he was healthy, he was more the will linebacker, the fast flow type. They say he's super intelligent, a guy who makes 3.0 without cracking a book. He can run the middle and cover wide receiver slots. He's got hips and feet like a safety. Negatives. Needs to clean up some things going on behind him in coverage. Now the character's not great on him. Holding about 220 has always been a challenge. That's the problem. He's not going to put in a lot of effort. It's the same way he's been on the field. Never spent the time he needed in the weight room and the nutritional aspect. Not a knockback tackler, not great getting off blocks, not an ideal point player, but who gives an F because his athletic ability is ideal. He's not saying the player gives an F, he's saying who gives a F. It's kind of a crap attitude, isn't it? He's not good at these things, but who cares? He's athletic. I hope that's not a Packer scout. Probably is. All right, why don't we take a break? We're at 15 minutes. We'll come back. We got Carson Schweshinger, who is the consensus board's number 2. We'll take a break and we'll get into that. We'll be right back. Carson Schweshinger, 6'2", 242 pounds, out of UCLA. Gave him a 10 out of 10 for competitive toughness, 9 out of 10 for vision and recognition. They comped him to Peyton Wilson, so there were a lot of Peyton Wilson fans last year. Seemed like he had a decent year as a rookie. So if you liked him, maybe you got another guy here. We didn't get him last year. You wanted him. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he falls to the 3rd round or something. 14th percentile for forced incompletions, slot 28th percentile, box 58th, run defense 38th, and then 69th is his best for stop percentage. He ranked number 1 pass rush win percentage at 27.4%. Some of the notes on him: didn't work out at the Combine or Pro Day. Scheduled workout on April 2nd at Oaks Christian in Westlake Village. So obviously that happened somewhere out there in the world. Maybe I have that. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Described walk-ons as the back. Who cares? Says he models his game after Luke Kuechly. He's big on film study. Likes to study formation-based tendencies. He pointed out, if you want to go try to find something, an example of spotting Nebraska's use of 4-point stances and goal line situations that telegraphed jump over attempts. Says Tyler Warren was one of the toughest players he's faced. And then, I do have his pro day workout here, April 2nd. 5 teams with linebacker coaches in attendance. Packers were not one of them. In fact, there were no NFC North teams in attendance, although there were 30 NFL teams, so I'm sure we were all there. Hamstring injury prevented his participation in the Senior Bowl. They said he was phenomenal in position drills, demonstrated fluidity, explosion, and power. Outstanding in space, made plays all over the field. This is, pro day notes. Solidified him as a top 45 pick. So there you go. Early second round, if not sliding into the first. Draft projection ranked consensus number 2 behind Jihad Campbell. Early projection had him potentially at the end of round 1. Expected to be selected within the top 38 picks. First round drop likely due to many edge rushers expecting the top 32. So in other words, he's worth going in the first, but there's a lot of high value positions that are probably going to push him out. Anyways, getting into the quotes from the scouts. Crazy story. They put this guy in, and he was an All-American. Crazy instinctive, quick off the spot, can really run, awesome space tackler, natural blitzer, has closing speed and timing, can break down on the quarterback, almost moves like a safety. Good football player, just really instinctive, knows the game, knows which angles to take, plays really hard. Fun to watch. Just a tackling machine. He triggers quick. He finds it quick, fast, tough. Doesn't stay blocked. He's just everywhere. Second round. A little bit taller version of Drew Tranquill. That's a positive. He's got big-time range, can run people down. Instincts in a linebacker are so key. This guy has them. Negatives. Not great at the point. Blockers lock on him. Inconsistent playing the ball in coverage. Only played in the 220s. Lacks a little bit of size and length fighting an offensive lineman. Not a take-on guy. What he lacks is point-of-attack strength. At number 4, Demetrius Knight out of South Carolina. That is the number 3 here, so we're going back in order with, again, Smile being the one sort of outlier here. 6'2", 235 out of South Carolina. 10 out of 10 for competitive toughness. 9 out of 10 they gave him for tackling. They comped him to Bobby Okereke. Stable metrics that are good. 98th percentile for slot. 89th percentile for box grade. All the other ones were pretty bad. Let's see, do I have anything? I do. Started at Georgia Tech, where he graduated in just 3 years, transferred to Charlotte to develop as a linebacker and get more playing time. Explained he didn't get enough reps at Georgia Tech due to depth and senior players. After a successful season at Charlotte, he transferred to South Carolina for his final season, currently working on a master's degree in sports science and education. He will be 25 years old in July, turning 25 before his rookie season. NFL influences are Levante David, Fred Warner, Darius Leonard, and Patrick Queen. And then at the Pro Day performance, he maintained his combine numbers. Looked good in pursuit drills and coverage, projected as an inside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. Teams complimented his aggressive, almost violent style of play. Had a top 30 visit with the Buccaneers. Dinner with Cowboys defensive coordinator. Cowboys have a second-round grade on him. Apparently, he won the Gamecocks Defensive MVP Award from Locust Grove, Georgia. Positives from the scouts. I like him better than Campbell, one scout said. Really looks the part, can play Mike or Will, very strong, plays with great leverage at the point. This guy is a striker. When he hits, the play ends. He can run, play all 3 downs. I thought he was a first-round talent. I like that. I know it doesn't always pan out as far as being a good football player, but I love a linebacker that'll just lay somebody out. He's on the rise. He played well. He'll probably end up being a 3rd or 4th round pick. Like his size and speed and explosion. Played tough against the run. When he hits you, you go backwards. I like the player a lot. Negatives, instincts were not natural, but he's relatively new to the position. I don't see him as a top guy. I see him more as a good 4th-round pick. It's funny because the positives and negatives are actually pretty similar there. It's I like him, he'll be 3rd or 4th, or I don't like him, he'll be 4th. At number 5 is Barrett Carter, linebacker from Clemson. Carter is 6 foot 231. Didn't give him any 9s or 10s. Comped him to Henry To'oto'o. 90th percentile for forced incompletion percentage, 62 for slot grade, 74 for run defense. The other two were not great. Dabo Swinney, head coach over there, praised him as one of the best pure football players they have. Versatile defensive player playing linebacker, slot, and multiple positions. He emphasized relationships and impact over individual achievements in the interview that he did. Committed to community service. Reads to elementary school students. Wants to start an annual youth football camp in his hometown of Suwanee. He led player-led film sessions at Clemson. Wants teams to see him more than just a football player. Aims to bring leadership and value to NFL organization. Believes in changing team culture from day one. I mean, this sounds like something the Packers have been talking about. Played special teams early in college career. Scored a touchdown as a running back in his senior year. Admires Ray Lewis. Seeks to emulate Lewis's leadership role and game mentality. Wants to elevate teammates' performance through energy and focus. He is a golfer. Plays at golf course on Clemson's campus. Graduated from college in December. He was a team captain, 3-year starter. 5-star recruit from Suwanee, Georgia. Positives from the scouts. Great character makeup. The kid just checks all the boxes across the board. For a guy who's an athletic linebacker and seeing him play downhill and really take on blocks with physicality, you don't get much of that anymore. Poor man's Nick Bolton. Outstanding athlete, very good mover, can run, has great range, really good in coverage, playmaker. He's like their alpha male. Total slam dunk, just super tough, competitive, physical leader. I like him, man. I like him. Negatives. It's cleaning up some of his angles, his run fits, playing with a little better technique to defeat blocks. Those things give me pause because he didn't get much better at those things. Missed too many tackles for a good athlete. Sometimes can get caught up in the wash as a run support player. Not the biggest or longest guy, just a little guy with athletic ability to make up for it. Gets knocked around better in space and cover, but not as good of an athlete to thrive there, which, you know, when you're talking about a 4-3 defense, where your top two guys in nickel are pretty well spoken for. So we're kind of looking a little bit further down the list of, you know, a guy as far as his snap counts go. Obviously, you want a do-everything person, but at the end of the day, you can kind of find people that fit certain roles and characteristics. Not saying that fits what the Packers are looking for, but just saying. At number 6, they got Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma, 6'3", 233. He's got really high marks via PFF. Where do they rank him on here, just out of curiosity? No, they got him pretty low. I think he's their last linebacker that they talk about. But as far as player traits, 10 out of 10 for competitive toughness, 9 out of 10 for block shedding, pursuit speed, gap understanding and fits, and vision and recognition. The player comp was to Pete Warner. His stable metrics, 60th percentile forced incompletion, 95th percentile for slot grade, 75th for run defense grade, 92nd for stop percentage. The only thing that was pretty terrible was 4th percentage for box grade. Ranked number 1 for run stop percentage at 15.5%. I got him down in my notes here. Draft projection as a day 2 pick, so 2nd or 3rd round. Known for his colorful hairstyles in college, so we can have him and Oladapo have a little thing there. Learned under Brett Venables. Demonstrates leadership, shows competitive spirit, highlight football intelligence. Admires Luke Kuechly of the past, respects Fred Warner for the current. Positive notes. I can see him being able to run a defense and do everything you want him to do. Good player, good hitter, has enough range and speed. You won't have any problems with him. Good 3-down player, excellent size. Turn that stupid thing down. He can run. This guy has pop at the point, a little inconsistent shed, but really quick to slip through. Super instinctive. Almost the same player as Schlesinger, 2nd round. Negatives, he wears every bandage, every pad, every tape job in the book, one scout said. and he's a little stiff. You wonder, okay, is this guy good as he can get? Big middle linebacker, kind of odd because nobody plays like this guy anymore. Upright guy, kind of stiff. Not really great in space with movement and change of direction and range. Kind of runs to the ball and falls into stuff. On blitzes, don't see much explosion. Typical try-hard special teams guy. All right, let's take our final break. We'll come back and get through the rest of these here linebackers. We'll be right back. Chris Paul Jr., linebacker out of Ole Miss, 6'1", 222 pounds. PFF gave him a 10 out of 10 for tackling, 9 out of 10 for competitive toughness. Comped him to Dayan Henley. I don't even know who that is. Percentiles, the one that really stands out is his stop percentage. He's 92nd percentile. The only one that's kind of bad is his slot grade, which is 36th percentile. He's tied, he's number 1 ranked linebacker in missed tackle percentage, 2nd in run stop percentage, 4th in forced incompletion percentage, tied for 3rd in pressures. His nickname is Pooh, so there's that. Shortest arms of the top 20 at the position, 3-star recruit from Cordell, Georgia. Positives, looks more like a safety than a linebacker, plays with outstanding physicality and violence. Don't tell him he's undersized. He can run and cover tight ends, tackles well. Looked the part. He's in line with Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight. Negatives, not a good blitzer, can get banged around in the middle. Take-on strength is an issue. Jeffrey Bassa, PFF doesn't have a breakdown on him. They just got his combine results here. 4.6 340, which is 63rd percentile. Let's see, what did he do the best here, looking at these percentiles? Best and worst, I guess. His vert, 38.5, is almost 90th percentile. 3-cone of 7.34 is actually 87th percentile. I wouldn't have guessed it was that high. His worst performing is arm length, 17th percentile. But he is 6'1", 2... Is that right? 6'1", 232 is what he weighed in at the combine, apparently. This says 228 here. Apparently at the... so he ran a 4.6 340 at his pro day. Obviously, it's all stopwatches and stuff at the pro day, but he was marked between 4.55 and 4.6, so he did shave off quite a bit of time from the combine there. Some of the notes from his pro day: looks smooth in position drills, good in coverage drills. Teams view him solely as an inside or middle linebacker. Day 2 pick. Had team meetings with the 49ers, Patriots, and Raiders. Positives. People love the personality. He packs a punch. 2-time captain. Always around the football. Good in coverage, too, which will help his third down value. The school raves about him. He's had a professional mentality ever since he got to Oregon. Negatives. He's below Barrett Carter, but not by much. Just isn't real big. Probably 4th round. Even for an ex-safety, he's more of a Mike. I think some people will question if he has enough range outside of the tackles. Sometimes instinctively, he hesitates a little much. He's got to get better tackling. Had a lot of missed tackles this season. Needs to get better on initial key and diagnose. Struggles to correctly fit or find the ball inside the box. He's a really good backup with potential to start 4th round. Then they got the next 5 here. The next 5 they have listed are Shamar James, Cody Lindenberg of Minnesota, Jack Kaiser of Notre Dame, Kane Medrano of UCLA, and then Jamin Pop Dumas Johnson. So all of that. PFF and I have nothing on Shamar James. 6'1", 226 is what's listed here. Positive quote: Captain America, phenomenal human being. I can see him being a CEO of a company one day. Just a solid, consistent player. Negative quotes: not the best athlete in the world, but good enough. Same for Cody Lindenberg, but 6'2.5", 236. Plays with high effort, quarterbacks the defense, high character kid, sleeps, breathes football. Coach PJ Fleck told me he's arguably the best linebacker he's ever had. He's a solid player. Negatives: not real productive in coverage. Like to see more explosion on contact. You know what's weird? They have Jack Kaiser out of Notre Dame. Wasn't the other Kaiser guy out of Notre Dame? And furthermore, isn't Jamin Davis from Kentucky? And now they got Jamin Dumas Johnson. Weird. No notes on Jack Kaiser. 6'1.5", 229, 467. His stock went up at the Senior Bowl. The coaches that coached him loved his effort and the fact that he came right to the Senior Bowl from the CFP championship game. He had a chip on his shoulder, wanted to prove something, did a great job in every practice. volunteered for things. His Senior Bowl coaches all thought he'd be a third rounder. That's pretty cool. No negatives, by the way. Kane Madrano is up next. Do have some pro day notes for him. He maintained his combine 40-yard dash time of 4.46. He did some new stuff, short shuttle 4.19, three-cone 6.96. It's very good. Draft stock rising from undrafted free agent to middle round prospect. Teams value his versatility, moves with safety like agility despite his 220-pound frame. Originally came from UCLA as a receiver before transitioning to linebacker. Still developing at linebacker position with significant upside. They have him listed at 6'3", 228, 4'4", 840. Shave a couple hundredths of a second off that. Ran like a deer at the combine. He was the fastest out of that linebacker group. The negative, he's a converted safety who doesn't really know how to play inside the box very well yet. He's going to have to get stronger and tackle better and get off blocks a lot better. I don't think he's a green dot. I don't know if that's just a really polite way of saying the IQ isn't great or what exactly that means, but maybe just the lack of experience. But I mean, you get that over time, right? I don't know. And then finally, Jamon, whatever, Pop Dumas Johnson, Pop being the nickname. Pro day notes, disallowed from combine workouts after failing stress reaction tests. That's scary. 40-yard dash between 4.54 and 4.57, vert 37 and a half, broad 10.6. Looked terrific in his position drills, building buzz among teams, no-nonsense, tough guy on the field, leader in the locker room. 6'1.5", 236, 4.61 is what they listed here, but again, at the pro day, he shaved some time off of that. Transferred from Georgia to Kentucky in 2024. Positive quotes, played pretty decent for Kentucky. He's probably got a little more in the tank than that. I bet Pop goes in the 5th, and I bet he ends up being a decent pro. Negative quote, he was getting squeezed out by Smile Munden and Jalen Walker. He's an old-fashioned Mike. Pop will slip some because people see him as an early down run defender. So there are your linebackers. I think of the people, I don't want to say left off, but what did we get? We got the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for sure. And they only had a list of 8 plus the next 5, but Kobe King is the next guy on the list that I don't believe was on here. He is a linebacker out of Penn State, followed by Nick Barton, Teddy Buchanan, Jay Higgins, Cody Simon, and then we get to Mr. Jamon Dumas Johnson. But I'll tell you what, why don't we end on a little bit of a high note. This just came across my face. Sportskeeda, Tony Pauline writing the article here. Insider notes on Bengals potentially trading Trey Hendrickson during draft week. Colin Granger's move from CBB to Panthers and more, blah, blah, blah. I'll dig through the rest of that, see if there's anything interesting, but obviously the most important part is the Bengals. I don't even think I reported on it, but there was another note that apparently Trey Hendrickson was kind of starting to get frustrated. So, I mean, it sounded like it was about to get done. Bengals don't like to move on from people. They said they wanted to keep him. Trey Hendrickson came back to the table. He's like, yeah, no problem. Let's get this done. Just kind of went radio silent. Didn't really think anything of it. And then just a couple days ago, I hear Hendrickson's starting to get a little annoyed with a lack of communication or something to that effect. I'll just read this almost in its entirety. The overwhelming feeling in the league is that the Cincinnati Bengals, who own the 17th pick, will determine if there's a run on edge rushers during the second half of round 1. If the Bengals take an edge rusher, the floodgates are expected to open up, and at least 7, possibly 8, will be drafted before day 1 is through. It may create a situation where teams may try and trade up from the bottom of the first round to ensure they acquire a pass rusher. The teams that hold 5 of the final 6 picks in round 1 are expected to target an edge rusher on the first or second day of the draft. Many tell me the Bengals will do exactly that. Take an edge rusher with the 17th pick and then trade Trey Hendrickson on draft weekend or soon after the 7 rounds are completed. The team does not have to trade Hendrickson, one of the league's best pass rushers, who is in the final year of his 3-year deal. He signed with the franchise in 2023. Sources tell me Cincinnati could also target a defensive tackle with their pick in the first round. So, two things to be very clear. We're talking about a very, very small percentage here, but there is a chance that the Bengals take a pass rusher. If they do, there is a chance that what ends up happening is the Packers make a move to trade for Trey Hendrickson. Now, I don't know what that would look like. I would hope that that's not our first round pick. I would kind of think it's not. I don't think the Packers would give up a first for a 30-year-old that's going to cost $1 billion. He wants $30 million a year. But just to add a little spice to things, it's not impossible that once the Bengals take an edge rusher, if they do, the phones start lighting up. Again, they might just hold on to it. They might wait. But they might just be hanging Trey Hendrickson out there in case they miss out on an edge rusher. But if they do, that's when they say okay and they start taking phone calls. And you may end up with a situation where on draft day, again, I don't want this to be the situation. I don't think it's going to be the situation. But you could have somebody going up to the podium saying the Green Bay Packers have traded the pick to such and such a team for Trey Hendrickson. Let's say in the second round or something, third round. Listen, I'm going to say third if I want to say third. You just shut up and don't worry about it. But it's getting interesting. So those are the things to keep an eye on. Number one, obviously, that Trey Hendrickson doesn't sign with the Bengals. Number two, do the Bengals draft an edge rusher? And then if they do, see what happens. Again, probably wouldn't be a day one thing because the Packers would also, or any other team would also want to see how things shake out. Possibly by day two, though, you start thinking about stuff. Or you could just wait until the draft concludes and start working on 2026 draft capital. Just saying. Just throwing it out there. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.